Hello and welcome to Grief Support That Works. I'm Jo McRogers. Today we're diving into a topic that touches us all at some point when we are grieving. These are the common rabbit holes of grief. We'll first explore 3 common rabbit holes, and then I will explain my whole rabbit hole grief theory. The first rabbit hole that many grievers find themselves falling into is that of isolation and withdrawal. It's natural to want to retreat from the world when we're in pain, but isolating ourselves from support systems can intensify the feelings of grief. We often feel the need to be guided by the grief myth that we just need to be strong and to get through this alone. We often don't want to burden others with our sorrow either, so we do it alone and we come to believe that no one understands us. The simple answer to this rabbit hole would be to reach out and let family and friends visit and bring us food and to take us for lunch and to distract and divert our despair. But that is also the wrong answer. So how can we prevent ourselves from falling too deeply into this rabbit hole? Well, the key does remain in connection, but without the need for engagement. Please identify some trusted family members or friends who you can trust to connect with, but not need to engage with face to face, not to respond to every text, every meal delivery, or phone call. Let them know to keep contacting you and that you will respond when you can. Choose someone who won't feel slighted by your non-engagement. Connection without compulsory engagement can allow us to walk that fine line of internal processing while retaining the feeling of being seen and held. One other tricky part of this rabbit hole is that while it is normal to want to be understood, I have come to believe that being understood is a false goal. What we need more importantly is that we feel respected in our grief. The second rabbit hole common to grievers is the guilt rabbit hole. This often comes from the would have, should have, and could haves. Please see my video about grief and guilt after this one finishes. This guilt rabbit hole is called I feel guilty, therefore I must be guilty. Please know that this is the grief talking. Guilt, regrets, self-recrimination, these are all a byproduct of grief. Your thoughts are not facts and your emotions are not evidence. The third grief rabbit hole is, if the depth of my grief changes, I am being disloyal. This rabbit hole is also a very deep rabbit hole. We can get caught in our grief reaction, and we can't allow our grief to morph into a response. Also, see this video that I made. I want to assure you that allowing or supporting your grief to mature actually brings you closer to the person who died. Our initial grief is with the trauma of the death. Once we start having a relationship with our pure grief, we actually can become closer to our person in an honoring way. It isn't about moving away. So I have just touched on the top 3 rabbit holes that I have experienced personally, and the ones that I hear most about from my clients in my therapy practice. And I'm sure there are many more, so please educate me. Use the comments below to name your own rabbit hole. Many of us feel that the goal in grief is to eliminate it. This applies to grief rabbit holes also. We won't feel better until these rabbit holes are eliminated. But this again is a false goal. My belief is that what we have to do is fill up those rabbit holes. Increase your earlier awareness of when one of those holes is sneaking up on us. Find your strategies, your tools, and your resources, and use them to fill up the rabbit holes so that the holes become less deep, so that they become shallow enough that you can crawl out. And then you find your next set of strategies so that the rabbit holes eventually just become a tripping risk. Eliminating the rabbit hole is not the goal. Minimizing the impact and the depth of the rabbit holes is the goal. What we need is to find a way to live with our grief, not deny, minimize, or remain stuck in our grief. So please, research, experiment, use trial and error. Listen to your gut to find what works for you. Therapy, yoga, art therapy, communities, education, coursework, mentors. There are so many ways to fill in those grief rabbit holes. If you think I can help you with this, then follow the link at the end of this video. As you meet your grief, I send you kind thoughts, kind words, and a kind heart, and no rabbit holes today.